from? So hey everyone, it is Kristi. How are you doing? I hope everything is going well in your life. Sorry, I realized that in order to take precautions, I'm doing two things at once. I'm doing the show. Hi, and then I'll have Kevin talk while I do something. Hey, co-host Kevin, was that the worst opening ever? How are you tonight?
Very possibly, but I do have to say it's always slightly worrying when you're having a conversation with a woman and she starts with "We should have taken precautions." I mean,
That's not a good
that
start,
doesn't lead
no.
to good places usually. So
Well, you know how we've been crashed a couple times, and I realized that since I will probably be sharing my screen over the course of this evening, that if I size the window down such that the full address is not shown, then fuck you guys. That was all.
yeah, that's absolutely appropriate because yeah, we can be crashed when I did the show with Mike Stutchbury, of whom we will speak later. Yeah, we got crashed by one person who made a very nasty joke. Not at my expense or Mike's expense, but still.
Okay, yeah, so we can, yeah, so I'm trying to prevent future troll crashing. That was it. Yes, and actually, I think it was from watching when you guys got crashed that I realized, oh yeah, if you just resize the screen, they can't read the address.
Yeah.
Like why Google doesn't allow us to blur that out, I don't know. But anyway, hey, let's talk about something that's not boring and technical and totally inside baseball for YouTube creators. Let's talk
The
about
fact that this was total fuck up anyway, and fuck OBS and fuck Google and fuck everyone, dickheads.
Kevin's in a really good mood tonight, you guys. So we're gonna ride that joy right into the Christmas holiday season, New Year season. Happy solstice, Kevin, my
Yeah,
friend.
I am in the fucking spirit of the season. Bar humbug.
Yeah, you're all about burn the Yule log and then just glower into it.
Why indeed, and I intend later to pass one or two Yule logs because I had a big dinner.
All right, TMI. So speaking of turds, should we jump right into our potpourri of turd
Well, true,
or
but I mean, to return to the theme of turds, my turds are going to be bigger
birds?
than Tommy Robinson because he is a little manlet.
Yeah. Do you want to start with that?
Yes, well, you were going to talk about the him being finally kicked off his crowdfunding thing, and as soon as I've started the conversation, fucking prick faced little ginger fuck wants in now, so I'm probably going to have to
Is
go and
that your
open the door.
beloved four-footed friend?
Yes, indeed. So whilst you explain that, I'll open the door.
To let the master of the house, the person who really rules the roost, is ordering Kevin around again. But while that's happening, yeah, this is something, when we do the happy hour, you guys, we don't plan this stuff like, professionally. We're kind of like, hey, you want to get together? And then they go, okay, what do you want to talk about? And then we have to fill content. Or there's like one thing and then we build a whole show around it. In this case, it's Tommy being kicked off of another crowdfunding site for raising money for a teenager accused of assaulting a Syrian refugee. You just can't think that if you're going to be openly racist and interfere with court cases and be known for that somehow everyone's just going to treat you like that stuff is okay. So they said that their terms and conditions would means that they'll remove accounts if they promote hate, violence, harassment, discrimination, terrorism, or intolerance of any kind, including by race, ethnicity, national origin, religious affiliation, sexual orientation, sex, gender or gender identity, or serious disability or diseases. And
Yeah, it should be explained his particular little brand. And this is the thing: you can tell it's such an obvious scam because he's a scammer. He's done this in the past, but this was going directly into his account. This wasn't like a special thing set up. And what he was doing was raising money for the family of this chap, this young lad who had been bullying a Syrian kid, and it was a big story here in Britain, whereby he was he was bullying this Syrian kid, and he was caught on camera, and he found out that he was racist. His parents are fucking racist. They're just a scummy little family. And Tommy decided to raise money for the bully of the Syrian kid. So I'm not surprised that this site eventually said, you know what, fuck this. We really don't need this shit.
absolutely. And this is about, when we talk to when companies don't want you as a customer, your rights are not violated. It just means you're being an asshole. I mean, so in this case, they have grounds, they have clear terms and conditions. Like, this is what we're not about, and you are about that, go away. That's different from baking cakes. All right. So just to not for people who want to do false equivalence, you can't.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's harder for bigots to do their thing. Yay!
Yeah, I think that's the theme of the last sort of month online. Really, is that, it's going to be harder for bigots to be bigots online and get paid for it, which is good because that's how eventually. I mean, as is always the case, you follow the money, and that's where it'll go. If you deny them the ability to make money from their bigotry, you'll find that actually there are fewer of them, and they're less able to pollute the public discourse. Let's say.
Not all of them will self-destruct like Milo and simply spend himself into, poverty while lecturing people to stop being poor.
Yeah, and we can't rely on them all to be weird sort of pedophile advocacy type shit that eventually suffocates them. No, I mean, some of them are quite clever grifters. Milo wasn't.
Definitely not.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So Tommy, who actually has a sadder face now than in this picture. So that's done. Next one. Oh yeah. Someone on Twitter sent me this, and I remember I looked at their name, but it was hours ago, so I don't remember.
Hang on. You've moved on, but didn't we have something else to possibly say about Tommy Robinson and
okay.
a friend of the show?
Oh, sorry, that's right. Because I don't know about this, and you do. Okay, Kevin, I'm going to make the screen be you, and tell the story.
Hang on,
we don't.
You put the images. Why are you making the screen?
Oh, I didn't know this was the images bit. Sorry, I didn't know this was the images.
This goes back. Well, whilst you find those, I'll explain.
I've got them up. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, this goes back to the OBS fucking fiasco, which is why we started. Actually, we started basically on time, didn't we? But she said, I asked whether I could share stuff on OBS, like on the screen, and she said no, but if you send them to me. So I sent them to her, and then she's asked me to share them, and I'm like, well, you've got the images. I literally haven't set anything up. I haven't got this. I'd have to go into my files and stuff, and I don't.
Once again, I forgot to read your mind, Kevin. You have to give me a few seconds to read your mind to know when you need things before we start the show.
Well, just assume I need all things. Assume you're dealing with someone who's like fucking in a coma, basically. I'm going to need all of the things.
So you tell me when you want the images up and which one, and I have them ready to go.
The letter that the little fascist Almo received from the British police force.
All right, so that should be on screen now.
You're gonna have to, in the words of Luck, you're gonna have to bigger it.
Yeah, I will bigger it. That's what she said. Right.
Fair enough. So this is, like I said, it's what's called an Osman letter, basically where the police send you a letter saying, oh, we've got a credible threat against you, type thing. And as you can see there, I'll just read it out. It says, I love the fact that it opens with this, because with Tommy you have to open with this. I must inform you that you are not under arrest or under caution. Nice.
Yeah.
I am here to inform you that I have received information that your well-being may be in danger. Now, this is an interesting bit. This relates to left-wing activists. And that's not usually a part of it. It usually doesn't say it's from a specific source. So
also, the capitalization is weird too. Can I just say?
That is weird. So I'm not entirely sure why they've done that. It's very unneutral way of going about it. Anyway, this relates to left-wing activists having sources of your home address and threatening to attend and cause criminal acts / violence. Blah de blah de blah. And and then Tommy's written at the bottom because he's so hard. No problem. It's no problem. Yeah. Anyway, so
and then he took a picture of that, him saying it's no problem.
Yeah, because he's such a hard man, obviously. Anyway, the fact that he, spent the last week driving halfway across the country to harass the family of a 20-year-old is irrelevant, apparently. Anyway, so and that relates to a good friend of ours, because one of the people implicated in that supposedly was Mike Stutchbury. He of Let Them Eat Keg fame, ridiculously, because we did a special the other day in which we outed the fact that Tommy was harassing this family, and actually he hadn't been doxed at all. The family was, as Mike explains in this letter, which I'll read to you in a second, which was his response to an article that was published based on all this shite.
Should I go ahead and swap them over?
Yeah, cue that then. And again, you're going to need to bigger that.
Yeah.
There we go. Okay. Right. So this was the statement that Mike put out, right? Early on the 21st, I should do it in an Aussie accent, but that is just going to be racist. So I'm just going to read it in my accent, which is even stupider than the Aussie accent, if you can imagine such a thing. Anyway, early on the 21st of December 2018, right-wing UK news blog, Politicalite, whatever the fuck that is, accused me of supporting a young man in publishing the home address of Stephen Yaxley Lennon, otherwise known as Tommy Robinson. This was an article posted by Jordan James, which again isn't the real name. They don't tend to use their names. Anyway, the article was also attempted to link said leak to a supposed Osman letter that he received that warned of an imminent threat of violence from left-wing activists. The article has now been shared over 500 times, and that figure will rise. I feel the need to respond here. 1. The young man accused of publishing Tommy Robinson's address did no such thing. That's the important thing here. He didn't, right? They merely made an observation regarding the value of his home, in contrast to his working class front. There was no information that wasn't already published by the media. 2. Of course, I support anyone criticising Tommy. The man's a thug, a menace, and a grifter. Well done, young man. Again, he's pointing out to the young chap in whose family Tommy had harassed during the week. 3. I couldn't give a rat's ass where Tommy lives. I hate what the guy does, but I would never release his personal information. That is simply off limits. 4. This is despite my own details being freely available online. Care of a doxing that took place in mid-2017. Because yet, Mike was doxed by some far-right garbage last year, threatening his family and his own safety.
It's garbage.
Yeah. You'll need to scroll down now, Kristi.
Got it.
And if I whisper, they won't hear. That's how it works. Anyway.
You should do ASMR.
My only ASMR video was me burping. That's actually true. I posted that on my Facebook and my Twitter because I'm a classy guy. Anyway, where were we? 4. I can count. 4. This is despite my own detail. Oh no, I can't fucking count. 5. I find the whole business highly hypocritical since Tommy, quote unquote, has made a career of travelling hundreds of miles to doorstep his critics when they point out his distortions and fabrications. Their details are then distributed on social media, enabling considerable intimidation and harassment. That's true, especially when he worked for Rebel Media. He literally went to people's houses, knowing his fans would dox them senseless as well, and of course using the fact that he knew their address as a threat to the people, and literally just knock on their door in the middle of the night and demand answers based on some fucking social media posts. He's garbage, and he's been doing this for years. 6. Hal Tommy even claimed to have my details in a live stream last night, as if threatening to disclose them. Yeah, that's what he does. He uses them as a sword of Damocles, saying, I've got your docs. Mm-hmm. And also, if he's not interested in doxing people, Tommy, why does he continuously have the docs of people who are critical of him?
Yeah, that's weird, isn't it?
Yeah, it's strange that he's always got the docs of everyone he doesn't like. Very strange. 7. Furthermore, I am aware of those who have had to either move, go into therapy, or even take their own lives, directly influenced by the intimidation of Tommy and his followers. In fact, I spoke at the funeral of one of these people. That's true. One of Tommy's suicide victims, Mike attended the funeral of. There you go. Ultimately, if Tommy or those surrounding him think that making false accusations on social media is going to shut me up or threatening to doorstep me, they're very much mistaken. I am simply expressing my freedom of speech in calling him what he is, a racist, a thug, and a PayPal patriot.
Wow. Nice. Well done.
That is nice. Yeah, and I think it was worth reading that out because just exposing Tommy for what he is, which is a nasty little troll, both in demeanour and stature.
I think that sums it up well.
Yeah. Yep. So anyway, now we've got that now. Oh, for fuck's sake! I'm so angry. I can't even speak. Jesus.
Well, you were reading so well, and then when it came to freestyling, you kind of fell apart. I can also hear myself a lot, so maybe turn the speakers down a bit.
Okay, 1 second. What was I going to say? I could read perfectly well because I was reading lyric there. I was reading the words of a great poet. Whereas when I have to think with my brain, that's not good.
You can tell when someone takes time to write something like this because, 1, he's got points, and 2, it's organized in a very, deliberate way. And he's got his little things like, oh, of course, I like how he does this a couple times, which is like, no, okay, my dogs are out there. I don't want Tommy's dogs out there, but I live with having my dogs out there, and we shouldn't dox him, but he door stops other people, and just pointing out his hypocrisy without just calling him, like just the whole thing ranting at what a hypocrite he is, just laying out the facts very calmly. Very nice. Is Rory Katz demanding more stuff now?
Well, he came through doors. The back and then wanted to come out the front door. No, during the summer I just have the doors open so he can come and go, but it's freezing. So I've got the doors closed and he squeaks to get out. So yes. I should really mute myself during those moments, but fuck it.
Well, then we know when you're running around, serving the real person who runs that household. So
well, it is. I'm glad he lets me live here. All I have to do is like pay the mortgage and the bills and feed him and protect him from other bigger cats and clean up the arse end of rats and mice that he brings in and half eats. And for all that, he lets me live here. So
maybe you could take on the moniker of human slave as well, because it does seem to fit cat owner.
I feel like slave is too high a status. Like he was literally before this, he was sleeping with his arse on my arm. My left arm has been uncomfortably warm for the last couple of hours.
And of course, you can't move it.
No, it's cat paralysis. I couldn't. He was so peaceful and beautiful. I just thought, well, I can't move. And the mind is willing, but the bladder is weak.
So eventually, just like who was it? Laura Loomer, the battle of the battle.
Exactly. I was not prepared to piss myself for the cat. No. I was going to the toilet.
Nor was she for her Twitter account. Ultimately,
exactly. Yeah. And I mean, I haven't even been banned from Rory. Boom.
No, you haven't. I'm thinking back and smiling of her. Like, what's her max commitment? And it's about 2.5 hours.
About 2 hours, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it might have been slightly longer had she remembered to wear a coat and put gloves on.
Yeah.
Because when you're handcuffed, you can't really put a coat on.
Yeah. And also avoid coffee all day.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
No coffee. Okay. So we got one more story that we set up, and then we can just go and talk about whatever we want. We got 2 stories. Should we finish with the shitlords, the Schadenfreude of the shitlords segment?
Yes, let's Kristi. I mean, I don't even know what the fuck's coming up now because
didn't you read my mind? Don't you know exactly what I'm thinking? And aren't you prepared to talk about the topic?
Shut up, Kristi, shut up.
Right. So this was I have to. Sorry, I can see. I can need to lock on myself.
I can't really go like, oh, Kristi, stop going to brothels in Swindon. Like that doesn't really work.
No. And I use incognito, so you don't know what my search history is.
Well, so you're clearly that's definite confirmed. She uses brothels in Swindon.
Yes, all the way from Cologne. There's a really big brothel here in Cologne, but women aren't allowed inside.
How's it a brothel then? What?
Sorry, they're allowed to work there, but they're not allowed to sort of just show up. I don't know. That's what I read anyway.
What about lesbian punters? This is outrageous.
I don't think that maybe you have to make like a special booking or whatever. I don't know if they'll just take off the street, walk-ins kind of thing.
Well, this is clear sexism. You need to.
I need to agitate for my rights.
To allow lesbian Johns in there.
Yeah, that actually sounds like never mind. It just sounds like if it was it would sound like something a stupid anti-feminist would come up with.
Almost certainly. Expect Laura Loomer there within the hour.
That's all right. This just amused me. It just amused me because there's been so much whining. The story now, I'm moving on to Hate Speech on Patreon by Jacqueline Hart that was published on December 17th. You guys know we've been laughing our ass off that the karma effect, or the karma is finally really hitting Carl this year. And part of that is when you say things, people hold you accountable for your words. Even when you don't want to be held accountable, other people will hold you accountable. Even if what you said isn't criminal, they'll still hold you accountable, especially if, like Sargon, you said you would never apologize for any joke or anything you said, no matter how offensive. And he's never, as far as I've ever heard. Anyway, so he got taken off.
He was expecting others to apologize. Now, I'm not for a second saying that people laughing about the death of his child is anything other than fucking atrocious, and those people should be ashamed. But when you've set your stall as no joke can be offensive, I'm not going to apologize for shit. And then you turn around and expect others to apologize for their jokes. Well, no, I'm sorry, you've lived by the sword, you die by the sword. That's just the way it goes.
I've never heard anyone say you can't make compassion compulsory. And that, the phrase just sticks in my mind because it sums Carl up. So when he comes hat in hand, looking for compassion from his enemies in order to put them on their back foot, not because he actually cares what they think. That just comes to mind immediately.
His whole fucking absolute his outrage, dare we say, at Patreon just makes me think. Well, I don't care for your moral outrage, Carl.
Before we get onto this, can I just say, so apparently Sargon, of course, because he needs to, like, I don't know, get attention or stir shit, went and replied to Kristi this week on Twitter. And then she replied back to him. It was about his, I think it was because of the Jacqueline Glenn comment about, his comments were taken out of context when she was defending Sargon. No, they weren't. Jacqueline, be a skeptic. Go listen. Look at the evidence before you come to a conclusion. Isn't that sort of the point?
Well, she's being a quote unquote skeptic, but not actually.
Yeah, exactly. That's so
ironic. The skeptics are like the least skeptical people.
Yeah. Carl replied to her on his Not Sargon account, something to the effect of, the only reason I use these words is because, you neo-Puritans have such sensitivity to them. And it's like, so I got that quote and I took a screenshot of it. And then I got his headline, racist troll that sent rape tweet to address you, Kip. And I was like, yeah, you're giving yourself an international reputation as a racist to own the libs. Well done, Carl.
And also, I have to wonder, because he's been banned by UKIP from saying a certain N-word, does that mean he's a member of a neo-Puritan political party?
I really want, you're getting him to admit that straight up. I don't think enough attention has been paid to the fact that Sargon is admitted to self-censoring. And yet...
Exactly. Why is he bowing down to the politically correct UKIP, neo-Marxist, cultural Marxist, postmodernists? See, yeah. I was channeling my inner lobster man there.
Precisely. It's this exact hypocrisy that they accuse us of self-censorship because, we're so weak or whatever for doing it. And yet he's doing it. Why? Because in a professional setting, you don't use those words. In a common courtesy setting, you don't use those words. In a gutter setting, Carl, the way you use that, that's how you use those words. So
and it's interesting. I think that's an apt description, and I think it's very interesting that gutter setting is the entirety of his channel.
Oh yeah, very much so. Right. So getting to the Schadenfreude. All right, I'm locking back on.
Don't start with your foreignese.
Let's speak already.
If English is good enough for Jesus, it's good enough for this channel. Come on.
On Twitter, somebody gave me this as a link in reply to one of my snarky links about Carl after he went after Kristi. And it is the response that Patreon gave. I think this is like their official response about to all those people going.
Also, I was just going to say, it's interesting that this was sparked by an interaction with Kristi, because considering Carl's going to bitch and moan about being deplatformed, is that he attempted to get Kristi deplatformed from Twitter on his original account.
Yep, and he said that he would report anyone who came within a whiff of violating the TOS because he finds it hilarious.
Yeah, it's hilarious. So this Carl, you should be absolutely pissing your pantaloons.
Quite.
Because this is hilarious. You got deplatformed, so that's one of the biggest yucks of the century, surely.
And again, if you got turned away from a bank, you're not being deplatformed. He wasn't using it as a platform. He was using it as a tax service. Stop saying he was deplatformed. He wasn't. Everyone just, nonsense. Anyway, should we hear their final word on it? I think pretty much all attempts to, there's going to be an appeal and it's all going to work out. So according to Jacqueline Hart, hate speech on Patreon. Some creators and patrons have questions regarding our removal of Sargon of Akkad for hate speech. We take a strong stance against hate speech and want to make sure everyone has the full context regarding this removal. Before getting into the specifics, I'd like to warn you there is some inflammatory language. In an interview on another creator's YouTube channel, Sargon says, and then of course there's the clip, ending with, white people are meant to be polite and respectful to one another, and you guys can't even act like white people. It's really amazing.
White nibbers.
So, some people worry that we are reviewing content not posted on Patreon. As a funding platform, we don't host much content, but we help fund creations across the internet. As a result, we review creations posted on other platforms that are funded through Patreon. Sargon is well known for his collaborations with other creators, and so we apply our community guidelines to those collaborations, including this interview. In our community guidelines, we state we don't allow hate speech. Part of how we define hate speech in these policies is hate speech includes serious attacks, even negative generalizations of people based on their race and sexual orientation. We also say when reviewing an account for potential hate speech violation, we consider some of the following questions. Is the creator using racial slurs or negative depictions of a protected class? In this case, Sargon used racial slurs to insult others and specifically linked these slurs with negative generalizations of behavior, in contrast to how people of other races act. He also used a slur related to sexual orientation to generally insult others. Taken in whole, with all of the context, this violates our community guidelines. We understand some people don't believe in the concept of hate speech and don't agree with Patreon removing creators on the grounds of violating our community guidelines for using hate speech. We have a different view. Patreon does not and will not condone hate speech in any of its forms. We stand by our policies against hate speech. We believe it's essential for Patreon to have strong policies against hate speech to build a safe community for our creators and their patrons. Damn.
That's pretty conclusive, yeah. And I think they're absolutely in the right in this.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but one wider point, actually, back to Carl, is that basically his response to this has been atypical. Sorry, not atypical, but typical of his response to everything. He's gone after Patreon, and he's gone after the SJWs. When actually, it's the far right who did this. We pointed this out, didn't we, in the Let Them Eat Kick, that you thankfully were able to help me with and step in and help. That it was actually the far right who were spamming around to all of these different sites, Patreon, etc., PayPal, all the stuff about, like, they'd collated all of his stuff about white nibbers and various other statements he'd made, but, which obviously break any terms of service of virtually any mainstream site. So it's the far right that went after him, but he's too much of a fucking coward to actually take them on and call them out for what they are. So he's going after the SJWs and Patreon, and it's a war he's not going to win, because ultimately he sees the far right as at the very least fellow travelers, if not friends, in the culture war. So he's not going to take them on because he's a fucking pathetic, spineless little coward.
Yeah, when you defend and hang out with, when you hang out with white supremacists and defend their participation in the free marketplace of ideas, you bring all their toxicity with you. That's just how it goes. I mean, this is why people don't want to associate with people from the far right, because they use nasty tactics. They're violent. They're aggressive. They want to stir things up. They don't want domestic tranquility.
Yeah. And I just muted myself when opening the door. You see how clever I was?
Oh, that was very good.
Yeah, that was smooth. That was smooth. And if I hadn't mentioned this, no one would have noticed. But I did mention it, so
it would have been like
ruining the point of doing it in the first place.
A silent fart on a hangout that nobody knows about but you.
Oh well, yeah. I mean, I remember. I won't mention who, but a reasonably prominent leftist YouTuber who the first Skype conversation I ever had with anyone, literally opened it up with a massive ripper.
What? Oh, someday when we finally actually do meet and go for that drink, I'm gonna get out the name of that person because I'm dying to know now.
Well, a lady never tells. So.
Well, then you don't have that worry. Okay. No, because neither literally or figuratively.
Yes.
You're too rough in your speech to be considered ladylike in that way.
Well, indeed. And I mean, other than my love of flowers, I'm the least feminine person in the world.
You love flowers?
I love flowers.
Yeah. I like flowers too. My orchids are blooming right now.
If you notice, the wallpaper in the background of many of my videos in my front room is golden cubist flowers.
Yes, I did notice those. Yeah.
Yeah.
But hey, Kevin, do you want to know a thing you might not have known?
No, education is for the left, and the left are evil.
Well, I learned this week that actually states, the more Democrats there are in a state, the better chances are that you have more custodial time as a father.
I
What?
did not know that, Kristi. Please tell me more.
Well, somebody under my comments came along and went, blah, 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 feminist, they're taking away all custody time. And I was like, oh, citation needed. And I remembered some stuff being out there. I'm like, oh, it's been a while, I'll do another search. And what I came up with was this data, which is more recent. I thought there was a date, June 5th, 2018. And they find a study shows that fathers' share of parenting time varies greatly by state, but a good predictor is the politics of that state. So I don't know if you can see, if this is big enough here, if you can see the swing states lead share to reform custody laws. So in terms of like making sure that both parents have like, access to their kids, and this isn't of course in cases like violence cases, but in terms of getting dads time with their children, red states or Republican states have been the least eager to move forward toward equal custody for both time for parents. Only 22% of red states currently give equal custody, compared to 40% of blue states and 59% of purple states. So apparently it's not just a left progressive thing. Clearly there's like, I don't know why it's purple states. That would be interesting for me to find out. So I'd want to know what they're calling purple states. But anyway, and then they talk about how a typical divorced dad living in a red state will see his child 400 fewer hours each year than a blue state dad, and 700 hours fewer than a purple state dad.
Well, please do send me this link, because next time I take on an MRA in the descent of manosphere, I feel like this might be a pertinent piece of information to tell them.
Exactly. And because we always hear it's the evil feminists who are doing all this. And the fact is that it's Republican states that are giving divorced dads the least amount of custody time.
Yeah, and they do this. They're obsessed with the idea that they vote Republican because they're good for men. No, they're not.
Mm-hmm.
They're not.
No, this is patriarchy. That's what this is, right? We put the women and the kids together, and the guys go off and earn. So why would you need to spend time with your kid? They should be with their mom while you're out earning money, right? So yeah, that's actually what we're seeing, is that progressive states and purple states again are leading the way on that. So don't be like slamming feminists. You need to be thanking them. Say thank you very much, feminists and people in progressives and people in purple states, and ask, what is it about Republicans and conservatives and evangelical Christians that are devaluing fathers' time as parents and emphasizing it more as producers? Or providers, I should say.
Indeed, that is a good question to ask, and I think I'll need you to talk more, because I may have to mute myself and answer the door again, because there's a cat who's going to get a size 13 right up his arse in a second.
It was more like Cat in the Hat being scampering around. So, well, Kevin's left me at a very awkward time, because that was my show and tell. So that was trying to think if there's anything else I can say on that. I guess I can read a little bit more while he's gone.
No, I'm back. What's the
Here's a quick, just a note for people who might not read the link, because I haven't posted it because we did this hangout in the last minute. The research was conducted over a 4-month period by talking to legal professionals in every state to find out what the most commonly awarded schedule was in their state. It involved over 1,000 emails, hundreds of phone calls. No customer data was used, and then they put it into some sort of software which gave percentage of time in each state, and then they did more coding along those lines. So you can go look at their methodology if you'd like. And that was it for my my show. And you're gone again. I'm gonna have to like get Rory Cats.
What are you saying? What are you saying?
Yeah. I'm gonna have to get Rory Cats on as a co-host or something, so that we have your 100% attention during the entire show.
Well, me and Rory Cats have been busy with the 2018 Kicky Awards.
I saw that on your Twitter. You want to talk about the early ones, or are you saving them up all for the big show?
Well, I mean, they're all there, so it's open. But go to my Twitter account, and I've got several polls up for the 2018 Kicky Awards, which is like essentially a device I'm using to do a 2018 retrospective of the year from the far right by giving out really stupid awards like dumbest meme / theme or whatever of the year, and worst person of the year, and dumbest organization, so on and so forth. And we'll take me and Mike will we're going to be doing the December episode, the main episode of the Let Them Eat Cake. probably like the day after Boxing Day, and then maybe the day before New Year's Eve, doing the Kicky Awards, which, like I say, will basically be a retrospective through these votes, if that makes sense.
Yes, I struggled to answer the one you put out today about who was the biggest banning of the year.
Yeah, which one did you go with in the end?
Well, you want to say who the candidates are so people in the chat could like figure out who they would say before I give my answer? So the candidates were Alex Jones, Sargon for Infowars and everywhere, getting kicked off everywhere. Sargon of Akkad for getting kicked off of Patreon. Was it Gavin McInnes? Who was that? Oh,
yeah, Gavin McInnes banned from Australia, and Lauren Southern banned from UK. But because I was only 4, I was also going to put in the slightly joke one of putting down Tommy Robinson banned from Freedom. But unfortunately, he only allows you 4 options, so I thought I'll stick with my 4 serious sort of things,
Yeah, otherwise
there'll be plenty of time for Tommy bashing. He will make him, an appearance during that show, I'm sure.
At least once, I'd imagine. My sort of like, I thought, oh, Sargon, because it's just, that was the one that I appreciate, like emotionally, that was the one that that stood out for me. But really, when I assessed it rationally and sort of objectively, it had to be Alex Jones, of course, getting banned off of everywhere. That was the biggest thing.
Well, and I mean, I can't reveal the winner of that, even though you can literally go to my Twitter account and see. But I can't reveal that because you'll have to watch the show on something of December, possibly even early January, depending on time frames and things, to find out. Or you could just go to my Twitter right now.
Yes, because that's what I did. I saw it. You said like whatever number it was, and I went, "How many of these have I missed?" Like go back and I read them all and went, "Shit, I wish I could have voted on those." So you have to pay more attention. Put a little bell on Kevin's Twitter feed. Follow on so you get all of his tweets until the polling. How many more are coming out?
I'm not entirely sure. I've got like a huge long list of possibilities, and I'm going to see how many I can be bothered because it's going to take some research. Because we're going to have to put together like compilations and clips and stuff for each category in order to actually make it a show rather than me just reading out a list of results. So yeah, there'll probably be another 5 or 6, I imagine. Yeah, and they're not very scientific because it's literally just whoever happens to be on Twitter at roughly that time who sees it before he scrolls down and he's gone forever.
It's not like the Oscars are representative.
No. Although ours will be even whiter because of the nature of the people involved in this than the Oscars. So hashtag Kicky so white. I expect to see that in the forthcoming days.
All right, I'll keep an eye out on that. Yeah.
Awesome. Did we want to talk at all about, because the very first topic we talked about, talking about, if you can imagine such a thing, on this show was Sam Harris and his Patreon shenanigans.
Okay, I think you know more about that one than I do, so I'm going to kick it back over to you.
I sent you this. Did I send you the screenshot?
I don't know, but I can look it up while you talk about it.
Yeah, it's on Sam Harris's Twitter feed. The statement he put out, basically saying he was quitting Patreon because the freeze peaches and shit, and oh god.
Yeah, I think you pretty much summed it up, really, in a more honest, straightforward way than Sam did.
True, but I think it would still be worth reading out the thing and then mocking him as we go.
Oh, okay.
Fun. Right. Stop being lazy, Kristi. Go and find it. Come on.
Well, I'm only looking as far as the thread where we post these kinds of things, and if it's not in there, then fuck it. So
I'll find it then. Jesus.
Well, I mean, if you posted it there, that's where I'm looking for it.
I didn't post it. No, it's on his Twitter. Oh, Jesus. Look.
No, see, you put it where all the things go, and then it's there when you want to go get it. A home for everything and everything, a place for everything and everything in its place.
Yes, I mean, I could do that's what she said, but it doesn't really work on this occasion.
No, it's a little too Mary Poppins to throw in, and that's what she said, I think.
Yeah, but to be honest, I'd rag the shit out of Mary Poppins, to be honest.
Both of them?
All of them, any of them.
Oh, okay.
I'll take on any comers, so to speak.
Anyone who's ever done a Mary Poppins, that's all you need in the Tinder profile. Kevin's going to be swiping right.
Including and especially the drag ones, definitely. Anyway, I've got it up now. How easy was that, Kristi?
Well, since you know what you were looking for and where it was, I guess pretty easy.
Yeah. It's a lot easier when you know exactly what you're looking for.
Yeah, it helps.
Anyway, so yeah, if you want to lock your screen on me.
All the time. 100% of the time. You're locked on.
Am I?
Yeah, you are. But your
Oh yeah.
screen share is not
Well, I
on.
need to share. Yeah.
Yeah, that would help. That's the other part of the equation.
Oh, for
I
fuck's
do
sake!
my bit. You have
I'm
to
all
do your
over the
bit.
place here. This is embarrassing. Right. I'm screen sharing. Right. There we go. So it says. Right. So this is from Sam Harris from the 17th of December. So four whole days ago. It's closing my Patreon account. Dear Patreon supporter, you can hear possibly a door opening there. Dear Patreon supporters, as many of you know, the crowdfunding site Patreon has banned several prominent content creators from its platform. While the company insists that each was in violation of its terms of service, these recent expulsions seem readily explained by political bias. Oh, that's interesting, isn't it? Because people don't seem to have a problem with the fact that Tim Pool, the far right piece of garbage who pretends to be a centrist, has been involved in getting It's Going Down, the leftist organisation,
Yeah.
banned from the same site. And indeed, Sargon in his video tried to get one random, I think he was a communist, possibly, banned from Patreon, as well as Chapo Trap House, as well, the leftist podcast, trying to get them banned as well for one thing they said. Or one thing one of them said. So yeah, the hypocrisy is just ridiculous, and these people are garbage. Anyway, talking about garbage, back to Sam Harris. Although I don't share the politics of the band members, yes, you do, you cunt, I consider it no longer tenable to expose any part of my podcast funding to the whims indeed, of Patreon's. Oh, Jesus Christ. There we go. ASMR for you.
Yep. That was because of that drink you cracked at the start of the show.
Yeah, well, indeed. Whims of Patreon's Trust and Safety Committee. Why is it put Trust and Safety in? Like that's such a little dick maneuver. That really is such a fucking. What a worm. Anyway, I will be deleting my Patreon account tomorrow. If you want to continue sponsoring me, I encourage you to blah blah fuck off. Also, sorry, as always, I remain deeply grateful for your support. Wishing you a very happy new year, Sam. Fucking little weasel. Anyway,
What a prick.
Yeah, exactly. A lovely Alan Partridge reference there as well.
Well, I was thinking more of Hot Fuzz when he's giving the speech at the Fet, the guys are in the audience, and he's up there, and they're like, "What a wanker! What a prick!" Yeah. Oh no, it was a space. Sorry, I'm wrong. It's still Simon Pegg, but it's a space reference, and he's yelling at somebody who wants to buy Jar Jar Binks' item.
Yeah. What a prick!
Prick. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, because he works in a comic store or something.
Yeah, for Bill Bailey.
Yeah.
That's a great series. That's a great series.
That is a great series, yes.
So we actually had 79 people who managed to find their way over here from the fuck up hangout. So congratulations to all of you for making it. Welcome.
Thank you. Yes.
80 now.
But also, it's Friday. Go and get drunk and make babies.
Well, maybe in America it's like 5 and 6 hours back, so they're not to that point. They're not drunk enough yet.
It's never too early to engage in unhealthy amounts of alcohol consumption.
Spoken like a true Brit.
Thank you. Exactly. It's fine. Alcoholism knows no time.
So to close out the show on a happy note, should we compare how our respective countries are going to hell in a handbasket?
Let's. Because apparently America doesn't really have anyone in positions of governmental power anymore.
It's
no defense secretary, no attorney general, no
Interior secretary.
Interior secretary. Yeah, no one seems to know who's the top of the Department of Justice. Good times.
Yeah, Whitaker was actually encouraged or advised to recuse himself and went, nah. Yeah. I saw how Trump treated the last guy who recused himself. I'm not doing that. Was never going to do that. No one who gets appointed by Trump is ever going to do that again.
Yeah.
But so Trump is basically like Samson pulling down the building on top of everyone's heads and his own. He is just engaging in erratic behavior unilaterally, or just sort of not unilaterally, but I guess unilaterally because it's one country, but I mean more spontaneously deciding he's going to remove the 2,000 troops, not from the U.S. border, the 2,800 in California and Texas. I'm sorry, there's 5,000 troops in total on the U.S. border across 3 states. The most recent numbers I looked at. Is he bringing those troops home for Christmas or anything like that? No. 2,000 troops from Syria, which we can have a whole discussion about the U.S. role in Syria. But in this particular instance, what I want to focus on is the presidency and his erratic behavior and the fact that he didn't listen to the experts, that he said he was going to get the best people and he didn't need to make those decisions because he was going to get the best people to advise him on how to win or whatever. He doesn't listen to them.
Lying, saying that ISIS have been defeated when no one believes they've been defeated. And that's ultimately the point, actually, the great juxtaposition between, the point you made about the troops on the border and those from Syria, is that who is the bigger threat here, ISIS or some impoverished Guatemalans?
As far as I'm concerned, if the troops on the borders aren't processing asylum applications, it's bullshit and they're wasting their time. That's the only productive thing that they can do there because of the Posse Comitatus Act, which says that the U.S. military can't operate on U.S. soil. There's very, very restricted instances like emergencies and stuff, which is what he's used as a cover for this bullshit because I think it's an invasion. It's not a fucking invasion. You're just a racist. So there's massive freak out about that. Then the Senate passed a continuing resolution to keep the government funded until February with enough votes. It was a bipartisan bill. And then it got to the House and Trump decided literally halfway through the process, I'm going to veto this if you don't give me $5 billion for my wall. So then the Republicans decided, okay, we're screwed. Paul Ryan is useless. He's like, I'm out of here. Senioritis. I don't care. Screw you guys. I'm going home.
That motherfucker's on the beach. He's already on the beach. Yeah. He doesn't care.
And the whole thing came crashing down. And now Trump is leaving for 2 weeks in Mar-a-Lago. And people who are federal employees are not going to get their paychecks or have to work for free or not work because of his ineptitude and his temper tantrum. And the Republicans are unwilling to, deal with him. They just give in all the time. You were going to say? Oh, I guess the cat called.
So no, it's the temper tantrum, isn't it? It's him saying, "I want this $5 billion," and if I don't get it, then everything crashes down. Even though I said Mexico would pay for it, but Mexico's not going to pay for it.
Well, more scary is that he was fine. I mean, the Senate passed the bill. Mitch McConnell would not have passed the bill if he thought the president was going to veto it. But then Rush Limbaugh,
that's the thing. They can't even get it. You can't even get it through with the Republican majority in both houses. So what the fuck's going to happen on January the 3rd when the Democrats take over? He's got no chance of getting anything through. There's no resolution to this. And ultimately, what I loved, actually, another piece of Schadenfreude, was, they've started up this, they're going to, a GoFundMe possibly thing, whatever it was, so the Patriots could fund the wall. And they were really pleased they got $1.2 million in like a few days, which is a lot of money. But that in order to get the $5 billion he wanted, they'd have to keep doing that at exactly the same rate until 2034 to get the $5 billion. And that would cover about a quarter of the overall cost of the wall.
Did you see what Dusty Smith posted on Facebook?
I did not. What did Dusty Smith post on Facebook?
Basically, it was, we're going to make Mexico pay for the wall. And then like a response call, fuck yeah, Trump, screw it to those idiots. And then Trump saying, I want $5 billion for the wall. And the response comes, fuck yeah, Trump, screw those idiots or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's the thing. The people funding that, giving their own money, you think you would, what the fuck, you don't care that he lied to you about Mexico paying for the wall? They don't care. That's the thing. Trump supporters don't give a shit. They've decided it is almost neo-messianic, basically.
Like Tommy supporters don't give a shit.
Yeah, exactly. There's nothing you can say, and there's nothing that he could do other than being a reasonable human being. Like if he came out and said, you know what, actually, some Mexicans aren't really rapists and stuff. Like they're all right. That would lose him support.
Immediately.
Yeah. But other than that, if he just carries on being a prick, they'll love him to the end of time. And no matter, that's the thing, because of the InfoWars thing, throwing their weight behind Trump, no matter how Trump dies now, it will be a conspiracy. Even though he's a very unhealthy man in his 70s, if he keels over and dies of a heart attack, it was the deep state, Illuminati, George Soros did it,
It probably always will be, no matter when he goes, to be honest.
Yeah, exactly. Even though, like I say, he's a man that's lived beyond his natural age, really. Like 70 is about average, isn't it? And he's now 72. And he's very unhealthy and has been for a long time.
Can I get all political science nerdy here for a moment?
No, you can't. Yeah, go on.
It's just about the nature of the presidency. It is usually the case that when a president is elected to office, first he makes, or she, but in this case we've only had men, win so far. They make all these promises and then they get into office and then reality hits and they have to operate within a much larger system and they have to consult a lot of stakeholders and there's a lot of obstacles and it doesn't go as like authoritarian because it's meant to not be authoritarian. There's a division of, powers. And the presidents often focus on their domestic agendas in their first terms. And then if a president's reelected, at least like in the modern period, since the post-war period, they then usually lose a majority or lose seats in their midterms and stuff. And they've kind of got, it's harder to get stuff passed in their second term domestically. And that's often when presidents turn to doing international stuff. So Clinton's peace agreements and you saw Obama too kind of turning away from Obamacare and more toward foreign policy in his second term. But Trump is doing it in like his third year. He finally realized that the president has the most latitude in foreign policy. And that's why presidents tend to act more freely in that area because they have less oversight. And it takes normally 2 terms and he's doing it in his third year. He's so desperate for any kind of thing that he can say he said he would do, that he's willing to destabilize global security to do it.
Yeah, basically, absolutely. But and like you say, they make a lot of promises and then it doesn't come true. But with the getting Mexico to pay for the wall or defeating ISIS, that's completely out of his hands. Like everyone told him at the time that's not really possible. Mexico isn't going to. When Vicente Fox, the former president of Mexico, came out and said Mexico's not going to pay for that fucking wall, literally his exact phrase, he should have listened. When people said, "Oh, it's not so easy," like when he literally had to be told 3 fucking times when he was the president-elect why you couldn't nuke ISIS.
Mm-hmm.
That should have given us a fair clue that this man doesn't know what he's doing.
Right. And on the Trump thing, he has all this art of the deal, and I'm such a mastermind when it comes to bargaining. He decides to pull troops out of Syria, and then the next day, Kim Jong-il says, "Oh, by the way, we're not going to proceed with any kind of denuclearization until you remove like the nuclear umbrella over Korea."
Yeah, ridiculous.
What's Trump going to do? Nixon during Watergate went to China. He went to China and like did stuff as president and got things done even when he was under investigation, in part I'm sure to distract, but he was also doing his, what he thought, he's doing his job. Trump can't even do that kind of stuff on the most basic level.
Yeah. And I don't remember Trump. I don't want to defend Richard Nixon. He was a piece of shit. But I don't remember him going over there and like chommying with Chinese leadership in the way that Trump has metaphorically filleted the little Kim Jong-un, the vicious, murderous dictator.
Yeah.
Calling him calling him a really nice guy or whatever. Well, that's pathetic.
He likes strongmen. And of course, the people who have praised him, one of the people who has praised his decisions is Putin.
Yeah, oh yeah, Putin was all for it. Putin loved it, the decision, as indeed he came out and said he loved Brexit. Which, Nigel Farage must be. Any second now, Nigel Farage is going to be absolutely furious about that. Because when Obama came over as American president and gave the opinion of the American state as the head of the American state.
Maybe this Brexit thing's not such a good idea.
Yeah, exactly. He just came over and said, yeah, well, Brexit's not a great idea, when he was specifically asked about that. And a politician giving an honest answer to a question at a press conference, and Nigel Farage went mental. Oh, it's foreign interference. How dare he? Stick to your own fucking country, blah, blah, blah. But now Putin's come out and said Brexit's wonderful. Yeah, we should do Brexit. Brexit's fantastic. Any second now, Farage is going to be absolutely furious. I'm sure he'll definitely say something. I'm sure. He's not a massive hypocrite and a piece of shit at all. No, that's fine.
One of the pundits on MSNBC, which I watch continually, said if you look at Trump's foreign policy, it's very erratic and you can't find a pattern, except he often makes decisions consistently that are in Russia's interests.
Yeah, well, they literally got sanctions relief recently as well, for no reason.
It is one consistency in his foreign policy.
Yeah, they've not actually done anything to deserve that sanctions relief. They've not bowed to the international pressure. He's just going to give it them. As indeed with the Syria thing, they've not done anything to think, well, this is probably a good move. No, it's just strengthening the hand of Russia and Iran.
And of course, if Syria has actually been stabilizing, which means the migrant crisis has been easing in Europe as the floods of people are no longer leaving because the country is stabilizing. So if they
But
destabilize
it
Syria
doesn't, to be
again,
honest, it
and
doesn't.
wait, if they destabilize Syria again and create more refugees again coming into Europe, that again encourages the rise of the right, which is also what Putin wants to happen in Europe, because that destabilizes the EU and NATO.
Indeed, but it also that I mean that has the secondary benefit for Trump of him being able to go, look, immigrants are really bad. Look what's happening in Europe. He doesn't want Europe to be
Yeah.
peaceful and stable, just like Putin doesn't for different reasons, but it's the same outcome.
And also, stupid Bob Corker. How many times have I seen him on the news saying what Trump is doing in Syria is worse than what Obama did in Iraq? You dumb motherfucker! It was Bush who signed the Withdrawal of Forces Agreement that specified the United States would be out by 2011. As someone else pointed out on Twitter, all of the factions in Iraq were united on one thing: get the fucking Yanks out of our country. And so Obama did not pull us out of Iraq. Bush signed the agreement, and Obama kept the word of the United States. You want to
Yeah,
blame him for that? Well, blame Bush, because he's the one who made the agreement.
yeah, I think that's fair.
Yeah, it is. So fuck Bob Corker.
Well, there are so many people in America I want to say fuck you to. So. But yeah, Britain, we've
Yeah,
decided
your turn. Your
that
turn.
yeah, we've sunken into a morass of. I mean, I'm just so. I would say disappointed, but I'm not. I wouldn't have expected anything better. The country's gone to shit. We've got this Brexit thing. We don't know what's going to happen with it. It's just so up in the air, and the country and the parliament and everyone's tearing themselves to pieces over it. It's it's a farce, and being made to look really pathetic on the world stage now. And I don't know what's going to happen or how this gets resolved in anything other than catastrophe.
I mean, if it wasn't for Trump, you guys would definitely be making a lot of more
Yeah,
money.
I mean, in a way, we can look over to America and say, okay, that's like the carnival barker taking attention away from us. That's fine. Yeah.
I think it's going to come to a second referendum, and it'll be specifically binding. They'll specify it this time, and it
Oh
will
no,
be
you.
like
Well, no, you. Well, actually, no, you can't. It's not. It's not legal.
advisory then, right? Okay, or at least,
It's not legally allowable because that could potentially bind the hands of future Parliament, which you can't do.
well, it would only be about retracting the enacting the article.
Okay, but that doesn't then remove the that doesn't remove the possibility, or that doesn't remove the legitimacy of the initial vote. It would have to be a vote to
No,
overturn the first vote.
exactly, just like we did with
Not just
prohibition.
revoke Article 50, because that, in theory, that's the one way out of this that might be okay, at least in the short term, is saying,
Exactly.
okay, well, we'll take back our letter of enacting Article 50 to buy us some more time, and then we'll reissue it at some other point in the future. But no, in order to really overturn it, you'd have to have another vote. Do you want to stay in or not?
Well,
And if
fine,
we
have that
voted,
vote then, whatever it takes, but just like stop it.
well, yeah, exactly. Well, that's the thing, though. I don't. I'm not as confident of that because the problem is there's legislation on the books right now that says we leave on the March the 29th. And unless we have superseding legislation, so something new, um, that isn't that's what happens. We leave on March the 29th, deal or no deal, right? And there's no majority in the House of Commons, which is the body that will ultimately decide this. It's the elected chamber of Parliament. There's no majority for anything. There's no majority for any of the other options. So it was essentially slowly creeping towards a cliff edge, and no one can decide what would be the best option to not go over the cliff. Everyone agrees we don't want to go over the cliff, but no one can agree on how to stop us going over the cliff, even though it would be really easy to stop going over the cliff.
Yeah, so that's why I'm wondering, why don't you just vote, take a people's vote on basically do over. Can we take this back? Sorry. Just joking, fingers crossed, whatever you want to say,
Mm.
and stay in the EU. Like just stay in
Well,
the EU.
yeah, that would be the easiest way of going over. Well, actually, no. In theory, because it was just advisory, the prime minister could come out and say, "No, we're not fucking doing this."
Well, that's
She
what she could
wouldn't.
have done last time.
That's not as pie in the sky. Well, actually, that's one of the satirical articles that came out, but is absolutely true. Is that was hopes for a second referendum vastly increased by the prime minister completely ruling it out because she does this. She said there definitely won't be
That's a good point, actually.
there's definitely won't be a general election. I'm not calling a general election. 6 weeks later, I'm having a general election. This is the only deal we can get. I can't renegotiate. Oh, well, we're not going to have the vote because I'm going to go back to Europe and renegotiate. It's just she's flip flopped on everything. She's fucking useless. She is not a great advertisement for women in power. I'll just put it that way.
Well, I don't think
And it's
any
a
of the
shame
men. Well,
because
it's
I
the
wish.
men who set this up, so it's the men in
Oh
power.
well, absolutely,
She's
yeah,
dealing with their mess, so the men
yeah.
look worse here.
Oh, no, the men look fucking dreadful, of course, but she's not.
Cameron ran,
Look,
Farage
I wish I
ran.
could look to her and say, okay, well, I despise her politics, but at least she's strong and doing a thing. No, she's pathetic. I mean,
There's
she
no
really.
right answer to this. It's all bad decisions all the way down the line, except stay in the EU. That's the problem.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it all goes back ultimately. It's David Cameron's fuck up,
Yep.
and everyone else. Not just that, but he then went, okay, washed his hands of it and left the rest of the country to mop up his shit. He
Yeah.
should go down as one of the worst prime ministers.
Yeah. In history.
Shit all over the country, and then left and gone. Oh, it's not my fault.
This is when it's really important to understand about polling and margin of errors when you're doing election predictions, right?
Yeah.
You don't look at a 2-point difference or a 3-point difference and go, oh, we'll win. No, you have to look at the margin of error. And he really shouldn't have made that commitment.
Well, and he had a shot across the bows with the Scottish referendum because
Yep.
Remain in that one, the Scottish referendum 2014, the Scottish could have decided to become an independent country or remain with the EU, remain with the UK within the EU. And they voted 55 to 45. Now, it shouldn't have been anywhere near that close because at the start of that campaign, it was near a 70-30 in some of the polls, right? It was fucking huge margin. And he ran such a pathetic campaign that he got really close. And if it wasn't for Gordon Brown selling his soul at the last second, it would have been embarrassing. Like, it genuinely could have been lost. But yeah, he said all the same mistakes in the EU referendum. It was ridiculous. And because that was narrow at the start, it ended up being a narrow win for the side that has started this fucking chaos.
Yep. And then he went, oh, shit, I'm out.
Yeah, see you later. And he's been sunning himself in Saint Tropez or wherever the fuck he's gone for the last
making stupid amounts of money.
Probably, yeah, probably more tax evasion with him and his family. So fun times. Fun times.
And I think that's an hour.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, we kind of started 5 minutes late and it's 5 minutes after. So technically.
Yeah.
That's last call. Well, actually, last call was half hour ago. Now they're asking us to get the fuck out.
Yeah, they're literally pushing you out the fucking door.
Here's your coat. Here's your hat.
Get out. I want to go to bed, you prick. Okay. Well, I wish I could have a fun note to be like, oh, on a funny note to end, look at this cat falling off a sofa. Like, no, we got nothing.
So we might do, I have no idea what our schedule is and we have no idea when we're ever doing hangouts, but I'm not traveling for the holidays. I don't know how often you're going to be gone, but I'll be here also through New Year because New Year in Cologne is pretty awesome. It's insane.
Yeah, I'll be around, so we'll do something at some point.
Yes. So then we're ignoring the chat as we always do, but thanks to you guys in the chat for watching. Appreciate all 84 of you who came over here.
I don't.
I was waiting for Kevin's, sarcastic quip. So I guess then all that's left to be said, you guys, is that I've been Kristi. Kevin has been kind of grumpy, but then he got in the spirit of it. So it was okay by the end. But he's still a little bit grumpy. I think I can hear a bit of grumpy in his voice. It's between us and the OBS and the cat. And
the cat's fine. The cat brings me joy. OBS has brought me nothing but shit.
Well, you've interacted with it for almost 7 minutes.
That's it. I'm issuing a fatwa against OBS. Jihad against OBS immediately.
From an atheist. Yeah.
Yeah, it's an atheist fatwa. It's fine.
Okay. All right, guys. I've been Kristi. Kevin's been, like I said, grumpy face, but smiley face too. And thanks for you guys watching the chat. Thanks to you guys in the future. Goodbye from me, and goodbye from Kev and Rory Cats. Say goodbye, Kev, and on behalf of Rory Cats.
Goodbye, Kev, and behalf of Rory Cats.
I have to make longer ones. That was really good. You did the bit. Okay. Bye.
Bye.